Every time you shout at your kids, they are getting a traumatic imprint in their brain that's going to shape their adult life. This is also true for you. Every time you got shouted at or maybe even hit by your parents, anytime your childlike heart was hurt by something that your parents did, that has shaped you, that has molded you into the adult you are today and how you interact with your own kids. But what I'm here to talk about today is that healing is possible. Hi, my name is Ritu, and on this channel we talk about how to be a great parent despite being neurodivergent. That means despite having ADHD, autism, or mental health conditions like anxiety and depression. Childhood trauma can leave lasting scars, and you know this from experience because you have grown up with those scars as well, and now you don't want to repeat those same patterns with your kids. And I'm here to tell you today that it is possible. Look, maybe you found out later after already having kids and after making certain mistakes in your parenting that you are neurodivergent. That means you're ADHD or you're on the autism spectrum. And now you're seeing, looking back, because of your ADHD, you have been impulsive with your kids, meaning if you had the impulse to shout at them or even hit them, you did that because you couldn't stop yourself. You don't have the same brake as the internal braking system, let's say, that a neurotypical person might have. Or because of your ADHD, you weren't able to maintain consistent routines, and that created chaos in your life, in your kids' life, in the home, in the whole family. Or because of your ADHD, you've gone into hyperfocus, and anytime a family member interrupted your hyperfocus, you went into rage, and you just raged at all the people who have interrupted you. Whatever you think the mistakes that you have made, it is possible to go back and to heal a little bit of that damage that it may have caused on the other people involved in your family. And the very first step is to acknowledge that there may have been trauma created. The very first step is to acknowledge, is to admit to yourself that your behavior has hurt your child. Think back to your own childhood. You have to also acknowledge that you were also hurt by certain things your parents did. Maybe you already know that. You know that, you feel that, and you even have resentment towards your parent about it. But acknowledgement is the first step. Same goes down towards your kids. Acknowledging that your behavior has had an impact on them is the absolute first step. And we can do this without shame. We can do this without guilt. Shame and guilt are there. It's going to be there. We can't avoid it. But that shouldn't stop us. We have to let the shame and the guilt not stop us anymore from taking the next step, which is to heal again the relationship with our kids that we may have damaged somehow. I want to share a story with you that's personal, but I'm hoping that through sharing this, you'll understand how important the fact of acknowledgement is before you can go on to the next step, which is to actually do something to heal that damage. A couple of months ago, I experienced some bullying that I believe is because of my neurodivergence, because I'm a bit autistic and people can sense that, and also because of my skin color. I'm dark skinned and I live here in Switzerland. And when I came home, I was so touchy, I was so raw. And what happened is my kids, we were trying to have a snack. My son, who's autistic and PDA, which means if you say no to him, like don't do that it just goes through in one ear and out the other ear, and he's just gonna keep doing that. And I asked him, please don't disturb your sister, just let her have her snack. But of course he did. I mean, he finds it funny and he's a typical big brother, And of course that caused my daughter to spill her water all over the table. And because I was in such a raw state from being bullied by another mom in the swimming pool where I took my kids before, I absolutely had a meltdown. I had a meltdown on both the kids. I shouted at my son. I'm like, see, I told you no. I told you 5 times. I told you nicely. I told you strongly, but you still did it. And I just blew up on him. And he knew that he crossed a boundary. He knew he crossed my boundary, but the level of intensity of that, shouting did not really match the spilling of the water. And the thing is, this is where ADHD moms can really confuse their child and in a way F them up, is because one day the same thing, like spilling of the water, is no big deal. And the parent would be like, oh, it's no problem. Let's clean it up together. Or even they wouldn't even ask the child to help. They'll just do it. But another day when that same parent is raw or overwhelmed or overstimulated or whatever, or tired, hasn't slept enough, that same parent with the same trigger will just blow up. So this is an example of what happened at my home. And the consequence of that I see is that now whenever the water is spilled, my son just absolutely like freezes, and he knows mommy's gonna get angry. So I know that my disproportionate reaction to that, and maybe it is proportionate, maybe it's not disproportionate, but the fact that it's irregular. Some days I'm like, oh, no big deal. And some days I'm like, this is the end of the world. How could you? This is what is causing him anxiety, both my kids. Some of this is unavoidable in parenting, like you have to discipline or you have to teach your kids somehow like how to live and how to respect each other, how to not spill water every time they're gonna have a snack. But what is unnecessary is that fear reaction that now he has from me. So the first step is acknowledging. Once I started noticing his body tense up every time there's a little accident on the table, I realized that damage has been done. I realized that there has been a trauma created in him now. And I had to acknowledge that, I had to admit it, and I had to only then could actually do something about it. If I was like, la 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 la, what I did is normal, this has happened to me growing up, every single kid gets shouted at when they spill the water or whatever, I don't have to do anything about it, he'll grow out of it. When I had gone that route, then I would not have taken any steps to heal this. And there's a chance that this would still sit heavy in my heart. And there's a chance that when I'm 84 years old, or however old I will be, one day when I'm really old and I'll realize all the little things that I did to my kids growing up, which is part of being a mother. All those little things have hurt them and have shaped them and maybe shaped how the kind of parents they're going to be to their kids. When I'm 84 or 90 or however old I need to get until I have this realization, that's when I will be burdened with the regret. That's when I will not be able to forgive myself. And to be honest with you, I'd rather do that now. I'd rather acknowledge now that some things I have done have hurt my most loved people, and I'd rather take some steps now to heal that. So the first thing that you have to do is acknowledge, and one way to process that is through journaling. I have this journal. I always journal whenever I can. Some days it's multiple times in the same days, some weeks. And especially when I'm in the middle of a meltdown or stress, I run to my journal as if it's my refuge. I ask my husband to watch the kids, or I put on a show, give them a snack, whatever, give them a moment of absence from me, distance from me, so I can go into my journal and I try to write down what happened, how I'm feeling, how I think the kids might be feeling, and just acknowledge that this has happened. It doesn't have to be pretty, it doesn't have to be in a fancy bullet journal. Just grab any old notebook, grab a pen that you like to write with, and just let it flow. Nobody's going to judge you except for yourself in this moment. If you want to judge yourself, but please don't judge yourself. Do this without self-judgment. Be as raw, as honest, as aggressive, as violent as you need to be on paper, and let it out. The next step from healing from childhood trauma is self-care. And this goes for you as well as for your kids. So you as the adult, it's your responsibility to figure out how you're going to give yourself that care. But for your kids, you can take steps right now to offer them self-care, meaning you as the mom can now go out and care for them. Give them care. Pour your love and attention and presence onto them. Just pour it down on them. Go on walks. Go out in the nature. Go somewhere without devices. Like leave your phone at home. Okay, you can bring it to like take pictures and stuff, but put it on airplane mode. Be present for your kids. Just like listen to them. Let your own nervous system calm down so that your child picks up that vibration picks up that frequency and then can match your calm rhythm, can match your calm pace, can match your inner joy that's welling up inside of you just to experience self-care together with your kid. Some ideas are going out for a walk. If you have a water body nearby, like a lake or the beach or even a river or a stream, go there. Take your kids to an outdoor playground and just be with them. Plan a picnic, drive by the corner store, grab a bag of chips and a bottle of juice and a box of fruits or whatever, and just go find a bench somewhere and enjoy a snack with your kids. It doesn't have to be fancy. It can be so simple, but it's a moment of self-care that you do together. You are giving yourself time and presence, and your kids are enjoying that, because the moment you fill up yourself with these good vibes, you pour that into your kids. I often talk about it. Parenting or our life and relationships is like a waterfall. Whatever is at the top, when the water at the top is pure and clean and happy and joyful, it pours down into the next generation a bit cleaner. Through these activities, you're purifying your energy so that what flows down into your kids is clean, pure, and full of joy. Finally, connecting with others who are in the same situation as you. This is going to be so therapeutic, so healing. And you can do that by meeting other parents who are neurodivergent. This can be tricky because from my personal experience, the moment I disclose that I'm neurodivergent, like I'm ADHD or I'm autistic, very few people come forth and say, oh, me too. For some reason, we just don't do that. I think we're so ashamed that because of our neurodivergence, we act a certain way with our kids, and that can be used against us. It doesn't matter if you can't find other parents who are similar to you. Find a therapist who is also neurodivergent. Find a therapist who also understands what it's like to be a parent who is ADHD and on the autism spectrum, because nobody else will get you the same unless they have also experienced that firsthand. If this video was useful to you, please give it a like, because it helps others who are going through the same stuff to find it and also benefit from this content. And if there's something that's sitting heavy in your heart, something that you may have done with your kids recently that you're like, man, I wonder how this is affecting them, then I'd love to help you understand why that may have happened, like examine your triggers that led up to that moment, and also help you come up with your own ideas and own ways that you already know in your heart, but just to surface them. We can do that together. I'd love to work with you. And if you want to learn more about that, check out my website, neurodivergentmom.net. Being an ADHD mom or being an autistic mom, it's not easy. And I share a little bit about that in this video about why I believe that ADHD moms get judged the most. Watch it here.